Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to draft a Victorian bodice in Valentina. Valentina is a free open source project. The book I'm going to be using is the Keystone system. You can find this on archive.org and I'll post a link in the comments. So we scroll through here, it tells you how to take the measurements for this drafting system. And here are the instructions. So this is what we'll be making and this is what it'll look like in Valentina. I've gone and made one so we can draft here with the seam allowances and everything, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's do new and we'll open that up. Call that Keystone. Now we need to add our measurements first. I'm going to use the standard measurements which are given here at the top of the instructions. I've already entered those into tape, which is Valentina's kind of daughter program. So measurements, load individual, I've called them Keystone standard measurements, and we'll go ahead and get started. So we're going to square a line A to D and A to M. Hold shift, makes a straight line, and we'll just arbitrarily call that 20 inches right now. Again, 20 inches for our square guidelines. Looks pretty good. A to V, oh, pardon me, there you can see it now. A to V is 3/4 of an inch for all sizes, so we're going to go along this line here. 0.75. Oh, pardon me. And we call that V. V to C is the first back length. If you look in the measurements here, it has two separate back lengths. That's from your nape to your waist, and then the 16 is a little extra. That's a design element there. So V to C along the line is our back length number 1. Okay? Call that C. V to D is our back length number 2. Okay, and that's D. C to B is the height under the arm. So what that is, your side length, basically from your armpit to your waist. So we've got that here and under the arm is called B. Okay, and we're going to square across for all of those. So what I do is hold shift. I'm going to tie it to this line, A to A2. When I square these across, length of the lines, A to A2. That way, since these are just guidelines, if I ever have to change one of my guidelines, they'll all change together. Length of line, A to A2. Okay, and one more. Oh no, this isn't one, is it? Well, I'll go ahead and do it anyway. It's just a guideline. A to A2. There we are. Got our nice guidelines just like they have here. C to 0.2, that's 0.2 right here. From C to 0.2 is 1.5 inches along the line. 1.5. In Valentina, it won't let you label points as numbers, so I'm going to do all of our points here that are different numbers. I'm going to call them lowercase a and then the number. Draw a line for the center back seam from V to 2 and curve slightly outward down from 2 to 3. You'll notice we don't have a 0.3 here. In Valentina, we can't draw lines to arbitrary distances. Like I can't make a point here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square down from point 2 and then come out, let's say 1/2 inch over here, and then we can draw in this curve, and then we'll segment that curve to get point 3. So here we go, square down. Okay, now I need to make a point right here. That tool is here under the lines section. Choose our lines, and it will make a point right in the middle there. We can come out from that point, we'll say about 1/2 inch. And now we can draw our curve. We use the multi-point curve tool from here to here to here, hit enter to complete, and then we just play around with those until we get a shape that's sort of like the one that they have in the book there. Kind of pull that down a little bit. Oh, nope, missed it. Pull that down a bit, and this one up. Maybe bring that one in a bit. That looks about the same as that curve there. So now we're going to segment this curve. We want, the total length is 19.3642. I want to cut it right here. Let's measure from there to there and see how long that is. It's 3.25 inches. So let's go ahead and cut this off at 2.5 inches shorter than the length of that total line. Segment our multi-point curve tool here. So I want the length of a curve from B to A9 minus 2.5, and we'll see how that looks. Apply, and it's going to put that point right about there, which looks pretty close. And we'll call that lowercase a 3. Okay. Next step is Z to F. That's point Z to point F here. You'll notice we don't have a point here, so we need to do a point between the intersection of a curve and a line. Hold shift and it'll lock it right on there, and we call that C. So Z to F is the blade measure. Blade is a really weird measurement. It explains it here in the instructions, and it's calling it right here, it's calling it front of arm. So great consistency. We want to put that point along this line here, and that is front of arm. Call that F, then we're going to square up and down from F. That's pretty good. Square down about there. There's no point above F, but there is one below F, so I'm going to go ahead and create that now, intersecting the line with C and the line of F. There we go. And that is point OP. So next up it says ascertain with the square what the breast size distance from B to F is on the 2/3 scale. So we're here from B to F. In this case it's saying it's 15. Basically what it's saying is measure from here to here and find out what that is compared to the total bust distance. That shows you that the back is going to be slightly smaller than the front. So next up we're going to place 1/4 of that measurement, B to F, along this line to get point E. So we do here, we want the length of line from B to F. Let's find it. And you'll notice it's not here on our list, which happens sometimes. When that happens, what I do is I just come over here and I make a line. Make a line from B to F between these 2 points with the line between 2 points tool, and now it will show up on our list. So from F to B, length of lines from B to F, there it is, divided by 4 equals point E. Now we're going to square up from E. And that gives us point X at the intersection. Let's get that one out of the way. That's correct. So that one there is point X. H is halfway between E and X. We have a tool for that. It's here, midpoint between two lines. So E to X, halfway, H. Okay. T is halfway between H and X. So same tool again, H and X, halfway, point T. H to Y here, along the line is 3/4 of an inch. And call that point Y. A to P, here we are, A to P is 1/8 of the breast measurement, and that's going to be half the breast measurement since we're drafting half the pattern here. So let's go along from here to here. Half breast divided by 8 equals point P. Draw a line from the shoulder seam from P to Y and shape the top of the back from V to P. So we're going to draw a line using the line tool from P to Y, and then we're going to shape the top of the back from V to P. That's the neckline here with our curve tool. From point 2 at the waist to point 4, from point 2 to point 4 is 1.5 inches. Lowercase a4. Okay, and that's here. Y to G is 2 inches. Y to point G. 2 inches, point G. It says or according to style, so you can lower this or raise it if you need to. We're going to shape the armhole from Y, carving through a point 1/4 inch back behind G. So let's go ahead and make another point, and we're going to square that 1/4 inch. Okay. Move my notes around here so it doesn't get too confusing. Zoom in. Shape the armhole curving. So it's telling you to shape the armhole here, and it's going to end at this point 7. We don't have point 7 drawn in yet, of course. So let me find the instructions to make point 7, and then we can shape that armhole. Divide the distance FE into 3 parts and place 1 part from F to 7. So this divided by 3, line, F to E divided by 3. And that is point lowercase a 7. And now we can shape that armhole. So let's get our multi-point curve tool, shaping it from Y through this point, which is 1/4 inch, and down to our new point 7. That's a beautiful armhole. Let's see if we can fix that. Kind of. like that. It's curving a little bit. I'm gonna lower that just a smidge. Still kind of blocky. Well, we can get it pretty smooth. Okay, so that's our squared armhole. Now we're going to shape the back, making the side seam nearly straight from G to 1. Zoom out, we're drawing this line in. Z to 1 here, nearly straight, and then curving out to 4 down to R, which is not defined on our point here. So again, we're going to have to make our guideline, kind of shaping it down from F. Let's try 2 inches. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, looks pretty good. Okay, so now we can make our curve, shaping it down, trying to keep it mostly straight between that line and that line. Bring that up, don't need that. Kind of trying to match the curve here. It's got a pretty deep curve. After that point I. So it's saying that the intersection between this curve and line is 0.1. So let's go ahead and make that while we're thinking about it. Curve, line, hold shift, and that's lowercase a1. Z to K is half of the full breast. Z to K. Z to K. Call that point K. Square up from K. And squared up from K is point M. K to N is 1/2 of an inch. Moving this way. And that's point N. And N to the star point, this little point right here, is another 1/2 of an inch. Let's go ahead and put that in now. And again, Valentina doesn't like weird labels like that, so I'm just gonna call that N1. Draw a line from M down through N. So this line is going to go from N to N and all the way down here to the line of W. So I'm going to kind of just eyeball that. Thereabouts. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and create these points here. and that's L. And W. Cool. Point 10 is halfway between F and star. So F and star, let's get our midpoint tool. F and our star is point lowercase a 10. Square up to get a line here. Now, it says for point O, from 1 inch in front of the point OP, here's OP here, on the waistline, apply the front length. To O, now we have our front length measurement, apply it to O, deducting the width of the top back. This may locate point O either above or below the top line. And that's really confusing. A few more pages down, it has these, and it has the height of front measurement, which is point O, basically. So our standard measurement is right in here, 24-inch waist, 34-inch bust. Our height of front is 8.5 inches. So let's go ahead and just pop that in here. Oh, I didn't add it. So we'll add a known, oh, sorry, add a custom measurement. Of front, and according to our data here, our height of front 8 3/4. Save that, and Valentina's gonna ask if you want to sync. Apologies, my camera cut out. Let's get back to it. I did realize that this E measurement, I put in the wrong formula for it. So what this should be is 2/3 of the line of B to F. So length of line, B, F to B, divided by 3. Gives us 1/3 times 2. Okay. Oops. That looks better. Okay, cool. So to get the point O here, we're going to add our front measurement, the height of front. Gives us point O. Next up, it says to connect O to T, and then to find point J, we're going to take this measurement from Y to P. And so that is the length of P to Y, is point J. Okay, so there we have point J. From about 3/4 of an inch below J at EL, so let's go ahead and draw in that line. 3/4 of an inch is point EL. Shape the front shoulder and finish the armhole too. So let's shape that front shoulder. A nice kind of curve to it. I'm trying to get this shape here. That's pretty good. And then we can finish the armhole. I think I just need a simple curve for it. To here, and then we're gonna pull our curve. About there. It says from here to here is about 3/4 forward of the line. I'm not gonna measure that. We can just play around with it. That looks all right for now. Maybe I can pull that curve down a bit on this side to kind of smooth that out here at this point. That's pretty good. Okay, and it says in all drafts the armhole is first made by starting at Y and finishing at EL. So that's the way you draft it for any style. Next it gives instructions for narrowing the shoulders. I'm going to skip that until we get 0.6 in. Divide the distance between F and E into 3 parts to get 0.7. We did that earlier. Draw a line straight down to 8 and hollow out a triple. Hold that down. Straight down. 0.8 is midway between here. I'm gonna wait until we draw this curve before I draw in my dart points here. I need this line and this line to get this point here so I can draw the curve properly. So we'll come back to that. From 4 to 5 is another 1.5 inches. Lowercase a, 5. Okay, now draw the side body seam from C G. From G to A1 and down past 5 to S. Again, we need that kind of arbitrary guideline here to make a point for S. So let's draw in our curve. From here to here, through here, and we'll just mark it down to the same one over here. I'm going to do that. I want to kind of copy the shape over here. And then make that a little smoother. Let's see. That looks all right. Okay, so now I need to add in point R. That's point R, which is the end of that piece here. And we can tell it that I want this line segmented. No, it's not letting me click it now. There we go. Okay, so I want the length of this to be the same as the length of here to R. So length of curves, and that is from A13 to R. Apply, and that's going to put my point S right here, which looks good. Okay, so next we're gonna get to 0.6 here. 1/2 inch back of 1/3, so we divided this into thirds, and 1 inch back of that, mark 0.6. So remember, E is 1/3 of the line here. And we're gonna go back 1/2 inch to get this mark here. I'm gonna bring it up through the line. I don't think it's square. It's kind of curved out a bit. Okay, the intersection of those two is our 0.6, so come on now. And right there is lowercase a 6. And in the middle between the lines 7, 8, and 5, here's line 7, 8, and line 5, and 5. Here, we're gonna place 0.9. So I want the midpoint between this and this, so I need to put a point here. And then I can get the midpoint. It's not exactly 0.9 because 0.9 is down here somewhere. But it is the line on which we will draw. That looks pretty good. So that's this line here. Once we have our curve down here, I'll take out for the darts. Okay, so next measure the size of the draft from 2 to 4 and 5 onward to L to find out how much of the waist measurement we've used already so we can get the size of how big these darts are. So to measure from here to here, remember this was a standard measurement that we put in, it should be 1.5 inches, and it is good. So what's left over here, come on now, 14.2239. That's about 14.25. So we have a total measurement of 15.75 is our half waist measurement, times 2 equals 31.5 for our waist measurement. If you look at our waist measurement in our standard measurements over here, it's telling us that the waist that we're looking for is 24, which is absolutely tiny. So our standard measurement is 24, and that's an extra 7.5 inches. Oh my gosh. So we're going to take out from our half bust 3 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and that'll make sense in a second. Okay, so to place the darts correctly, divide the distance L and line OP into 3 parts. LOP. From L to 0.14, that's L to 0.14, will be 1 part, of the distance from L to OP minus half an inch. So let's do the length of line from L to, oh, that's not gonna do, from OP, from L to OP divided by 3 minus 0.5 for half an inch, and that should be lowercase a 14. Okay, let's see if that gets it. I'm thinking that it might be adding. Let's see what this looks like. No, I had it right the first time. Okay, from 14 to 15 will be one part of the line divided by 3. So we can take this, 14, and it is the length of line. Divided by 3. And that's lowercase a 15. There we are. In the middle between 10 and F will be point 11. So 10 and F, midpoint, lowercase a 11. From 11 to 15, draw a straight line. And also from 10 to 14. That's our midpoints of the darts there. On each side of 14 and 15, place half of the dart, and that's about 7/8 of an inch from what we added up earlier. So 0.875 is here, 0.24. Okay, again on the other side here, 2.23. On this side of the dart, for the second dart, again 0.875. That one doesn't have a point. We'll call it A23. Sure. And one more for this side of the dart. For 0.22. Okay, so I have my points to build some darts on now. Divide the distance between the breast and the waistline. Here's the breast line and here's the waistline. So let's go ahead and measure that. Seven inches. The distance between the breast and the waistline into 3 parts, and place one part from 11 down to 13. For the top of the second dart. Here's point 13. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go along this line from A to 15. The length of the line is going to be B to C. Divided by 3. For point A13. And the first dart will be made 1/2 of an inch shorter than that dart. So this, from here to here, is the length of lowercase a11 to lowercase a13. Minus 0.5. Plus 0.5. That looks good. Lowered. Excellent. Now draw from point 12. Guess I should label that correctly. There we go. Now draw from point 12 the lines to 24 and straight down to 20. So we're going to draw in our dart lines here. Now we'll have to do the same thing we did before by making some guide lines and then segmenting them to get the lengths here. I am going to square down from 14 to get our first guide line. Point here, and then I can draw in some segmented curves. Get the shape sort of right there. Trying to match this curve here. And then this point where they intersect right here, this point of intersection right here is going to be our point 20. Excellent. So now we need the other half of this dart length and we want them to match. So I'm going to draw in our guideline and make a nice curve. And so when we put in our point, I want it to be the length of line from A12 to A20, or the length of curve. Okay, and that's point 18. Next up, I need to draw in the guidelines for the second dart point, the center of which is A15, so we'll square down from that. Make a point at intersection for our guides. I don't like that curve. Let me fix that. That's alright. Doesn't really matter, it's not part of our draft. So I'll add in my curve here, thereabouts, to that guide point. Bring that in just a smidge. And then here we are, point 19 is about a 1/4 inch below where these meet, or 1/8 of an inch below where those meet, is what it looks like to me. But let's see. A13 to A28 plus length of curves 28 plus, let's see what this looks like. I'm just kind of guessing here. Maybe it is a 1/4 inch, so we'll do 25. That looks pretty good. And that's point 19 here. Okay, then we can put in our second guide curve for the other half of the dart. And make it match. There we go. So now we have our bottom points here. We still need to put in this mid guide point before we can draw this bottom here. So point 25 is midway between these two lines here. That's here. So let's midpoint them. Okay. And we'll square down from that. Intersect to get our midpoint. Is that? There we go. This is point A25. This one here is A26. And then all that work just so that we can get here in the middle. And it's not even a real point, it's just a star. Okay, now we can draw in our bottom lines. Zoom in. We have to draw this curve here and the neckline curve here. From M to 16, it says is 1/6. 1/6 of what? To get this point 16 here. Maybe it is 1/6 between the line we drew earlier of M to W. Or would it be M to L? Let's try both and see what looks best. Instructions are not the greatest. What are we trying first? Let's try W first. W to M divided by 6. Apply. That looks pretty good. What if we did W, or what would L to M look like? Not much difference. We'll leave it at L to M, 1/6 of the line from L to M. That's the natural waistline. This is just an arbitrary guideline for the base here. So let's leave it for the waistline since we know that's a standard measurement. This is point A16. Okay, so now we can draw in our neckline. And that looks good. And then we're going to draw the front from 16 through our little star mark here, touching at L and springing out at point 21 about 1/4 of an inch. So that's going to be right about here somewhere. How do we want to do that? We need to make a guideline. So it's going to pass through there and end about 1/4 inch. We'll do a 1/2 inch here, and then it should be about a 1/4 inch there. Remember, this guideline was just an arbitrary thing I clicked, so I don't want to set it to that. I do want it to be an actual distance. Maybe I'll just, let's pop down 1 inch on this line. We'll call it a standard inch, and then move over a 1/4 from there. To get our point where that curve's going to end, which is 0.21. So now let's draw in our curve. Touching L and ending at 0.21. And clean that up some. That looks pretty good. Now to finish off our hemline, looks good, 0.18 to 19. Get out of the way. 18 to 19. 17 to S, this is the big one. 17 to S, touching our little mark that we made. Well, it's not perfect, but it looks alright. And now we can draw in, finally, these bottom points here to make our darts for the side seams along line 7 here and line 6 here. So I need guide points here and here. And that is 0.89, and that is 0.88. Curves for our side darts. There's just a little bit of shaping here at the side seam, not anything too crazy. It looks a little bit lopsided on that. So this one looks narrower and that one looks a little wider. Should still equal about a 1/2 inch between those two. The instruction said to hollow it out a trifle. That looks about like a trifle. Okay, earlier in the instructions it talked about bringing in the shoulders for a narrower shoulder line. So let's go back and do that now that we have 0.6 to mark it to. We bring Y in 1 inch to get point U. And then we can make a curve to point 6. And then we're going to make another mark here that is the length of P to U. Oh, and that curve's pointing the wrong way. You see the little arrow this way? I want to measure from here to here, and if I put in my measurement now, it's going to start here and go to here at my second point. So to change that, right click on that curve, hit the options, and I'm just going to switch these. I'm going to put O as the first point and EL as the second point. Okay, and then you gotta fix those guides, and you can see my little arrow here is pointing the other direction, and that just makes the measurement easier. So now I can measure from P to U. Length of, oh, it's a line. P to U. Okay, apply that. Yep, right about there to get our guide for that second curve. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have changed that. That's cute. Guide for the second curve. It's there. And just kind of. And I'm going to go ahead and make these into dashed lines just so it's a little bit more clear. These are a style option. This is the standard armhole here, and this is the style option. Okay, so let's save that. So now we're able to draw in the pattern pieces so we can print them and test out the sizes. You go to the detail button here, hit the workpiece tool, and then we're going to be drafting or marking this down in a clockwise direction. I like to start at center front, click on the points and the curves. Make sure the arrow is going towards the clockwise direction for the curves. That one's going correct. A7. Arrow's pointing that way. That's point A8. Now this one, the arrow is pointing the opposite direction, so it's going to want to draw the line that way. So we hold the Shift key to go opposite the direction of the curve. And then click on it. Click that point there. This one again, hold the Shift key. And it messed up for some reason. So let's undo delete tool, undo add detail, undo save option. Okay, so I mean that's Valentina for you. Sometimes things just happen that are weird. So let's start over. And hopefully it will work this time. Hold the Shift key for that curve. A17, Shift key. Yep, worked fine. Yes, 1.A19, Shift key for that tiny curve. Shift key again, and then we got our big curve here is our last one. Hold the Shift key. Beautiful. Hit enter to complete your piece tool, and then it will show you a list of all of the lines and points, and these should be starting and moving in a clockwise direction. Everything's in order. You can hit OK. That will now pop up in the details tool over here, and this is what is actually going to print. Zoom out a bit. we want to add seam allowance. This is in your options, seam allowance. You can tell it how much here. Okay, and that looks pretty good. And you just do that for all your pieces. Shift key for that. This little side piece here goes to point A6 and then down. Come on now. A9. Shift key, stop that at AH, and shift key again. That last curve looks good. Enter. Hit OK. I'm just going to draft the rest of these real quick and then we'll pop over to the detail mode. Be sure you get the right curve for the right armhole that you want to do, whichever style option. Same for this line. Make sure you're getting this curve, not this curve. Down to point S and shift. Point 9 and okay. Now for the back piece, I'll start here. Hold shift to point Y. Next up we go to point P. Down to, oh, I forgot to draw that in. Missed one. So that's from point A3 to R. Oh, and it crashed. Oh, Valentina. Yes. Let's give that another try. Oh, looks pretty good. Save that. Let's see which ones. Oh, they're all here. Okay, so now I just have to do that last one with our workpiece tool. And there we have it. Enter. Okay, now you can add the seam allowances that you want for each of your pieces. You can add labels and everything. There are plenty of tutorials about just general Valentina stuff on the internet. I'm not gonna do too much with that, and then you can test it. The most important thing, or the reason for drafting in Valentina instead of doing something on paper, is obviously you can print multiple copies or whatever, but get up there. It's just messing up. Oh, I mean, so we can change sizes pretty conveniently. Since we tied all of these measurements to formulas instead of typing in the numbers, we should be able to, in theory, just load a different measurement chart, which you can create in tape here. I tried to set one up for about midway down this list and called it a medium. So you can see things skew. I do need to, my guidelines aren't long enough anymore, so we'll go up here and change and that should help. And remember, all of these are linked, so if I change this one at the top, it'll change all the rest. So that looks better. A little bit. You'll have to go in and change your curves and things like that. This one's no longer long enough, so let's turn that into 15 to give that a better guideline. You can just play around with your curves to get it graded up to a different size. And things like that to kind of smooth it out. But then you should be able to print the new one here in the different sizes. Yeah, so it works pretty well. You have to play around with your measurements. Let me just show you. You can turn this into a layout and do it this way. It never works right. It's weird. They're so wonky. So what I like to do is just kind of arrange them here, how I want them on a PDF. Hit that button here to export. Come on, Valentina, you can do it. Oh, no you can't. I hit the wrong button. Okay. So I want to export that as a PDF in layouts. We'll call that Keystone 1 for small. Okay, and then we can pop that open in Adobe Acrobat. Where to put it? Valentina, it's in Layouts, Keystone. Stop it. Okay, so here's our pattern in Adobe Acrobat. If you want to print that, you just hit the print button, hit size poster, it'll tile it. You can add cut marks if you want. You can say how much you want the pages to overlap when they print. And that's just the easiest way to get a nice, neat layout. You just do it yourself. The auto layout thing in Valentina doesn't really work that well. So I think that's about everything. If you have any questions, let me know. Next video, I'll move on. I'll draft, I think, sleeves and collars are the next part of the Keystone method. And, oh, side jacket is the next part. The sack jacket is the next part, so that's just basically a jacket with lots and lots of fullness, but I'll probably draft sleeves and collars next. I don't know, we'll see. If you have any questions, just write it down in the comments, and let me know if you try this out and get it to fit. Cool, bye.